Hi everyone, I'm Dr. John Douillard, and today I want to talk about how to enjoy your workout, how to engage in an effortless, joyful workout. And many years ago I was hosting an Ayurvedic doctor. His name was Dr. Triguna. I was driving through Washington, D.C. to go to a conference. We were driving up a hill, and next to us, in a very hot, humid day in Washington, D.C., there was this runner with a headband on, and he was running and grimacing and sweating, and his mouth was open, and he was panting. And the Ayurvedic doctor looked at this guy in shock and horror and said, "What is that guy doing?" And I realized that it really looked bad, and I was like, because I was a runner at the time and still run somewhat. And I said, well, he's running and jogging. It's like for health and exercise. And he looked at me and he was just like, are you kidding me? And it was just such a great wake-up call for me to look at the kind of exercise that a lot of people engage in, that we just beat our body up to somehow build it up. We break our body down to build it up. We still live in the no pain, no gain world of you've got to suffer to actually get the benefit. And a lot of science now coming and saying that that's actually not true. I wrote a book started writing it in 1984, got it published in 1994, Body, Mind, and Sport, talking about how this crazy no pain, no gain credo needs to go, yet it's still here. And we're still fighting the battle. People want to push. And I think that we have such an intense lifestyle that we tend to take that intensity right into our workout. And that can sometimes, no doubt, doing anything is better than doing nothing. And I don't care how you do it, it's better than doing nothing. But we can maximize our results by doing it in a way that is more intelligent, based on the science, and more importantly, in my mind, based on the ancient wisdom. And the ancient wisdom suggests that how we breathe determines how we respond to the work. We know, and it's hard science now, that if you see a bear in the woods, you're going to take an upper chest, gasping breath. That's going to trigger a fight or flight, get you up a tree, save your life response if a bear was chasing you, for example, right? So if you're breathing shallow in your upper chest, you're going to breathe rapidly, and you're going to breathe into the upper chest fight or flight receptors, and you're going to break your body down and wear and tear your body more quickly than you should. When you breathe deeply into the lower lobes of your lungs, which happens when you naturally breathe through your nose versus your mouth, you activate more of the blood supply, more of the alveoli. The lungs are gravity fed, so all the blood sits down in the lower parts. But very few of us breathe into the lower parts. And there's also nerve receptors down there which are calming, parasympathetic, resilient, help increase your repair and recovery, and help you digest your food. It's called the rest and digest nervous system. So many people have found that it's a lot easier just to, like the guy, running up the hill next to us in the car was huffing and puffing, triggering a fight or flight emergency reaction. And it's easier, much easier to breathe through your mouth, but way less efficient. And that's what I want to talk to you about, is how to breathe through your nose so you can get access to the lower lobes of your lungs. And the reason why people breathe through their mouth is because of one thing. The rib cage, there's a couple of things, but the rib cage for most of us has a property called elastic recoil. It squeezes down on your heart and your lungs 26,000 times per day. And if your diaphragm isn't strong enough to contract and pull the air down into those lower lobes of your lungs, your rib cage over time is going to get tighter and tighter and tighter and literally become a cage on your heart and your lungs and your upper digestive organs. The whole thing just squeezes down. And then when you try to breathe through your nose to force the air into the lower lobes of your lungs, it becomes a lot of work, a lot more work than it should be if your rib cage is like 12 levers massaging your heart and your lungs and upper digestive organs 26,000 times per day. It's a huge major difference. And you have to sort of get through that 3-week hump of breathing through your nose to get to a place where it becomes effortless. It becomes natural. It is the way we were designed to breathe. This is a breathing apparatus. We are born as obligate nose breathers. Traditional people around the world, Native Americans in India, all around, always train their kids to be nose breathers, not mouth breathers. And that was the research that we did way back in the early 1990s, where we took nose breathers, a bunch of high school athletes, and had them exercise with their mouth closed and then with breathing through their nose. And we noticed that when they breathed through their nose, they were significantly more calm. Their brain waves went into a meditative alpha state. The brain waves became coherent, where the whole brain was doing the same thing. The parasympathetic fight or flight nervous system, which usually zeroes out during exercise in mouth breathing, and the fight or flight system goes to 100% in mouth breathing. In our system, the two opposite nervous systems coexisted. That was unprecedented. Getting alpha in the brain during nose breathing versus mouth breathing was unprecedented. Getting brainwave coherence, which means the brain all functioning in a coordinated fashion, was also unprecedented. All published in the International Journal of Neuroscience. So it was hard, really good studies, well published, and still today, still very valid research. Now, so that's one of the benefits of breathing through your nose, but there's so many more. One is to enjoy your workout. When you're breathing into the lower lobes of your lungs, you activate a vagal response, and that vagal response triggers your brain to go into an alpha state. So you're literally exercising in a meditative state, a meditative calm. And if you meditate, you know that that's sort of a joyful, effortless experience. So we could literally call this the joyful, effortless workout, taking the work out of the workout and make this easy for you. So it's a very, very beautiful thing. And over time, the rib cage becomes more elastic. But here's what happens, and this is the bad news. When your rib cage gets tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter, it becomes a cage-like, you start to breathe into the upper chest. And when you breathe into the upper chest, you lose access to the alveoli, oxygen-rich, blood-rich alveoli in the lower lobes of your lungs. And we start to do something called over-breathing. And over-breathing means we start breathing really fast and rapid and shallow. And we have a hard time catching our breath. If you feel yourself ever do that, then we got to fix this, and this is how. That when you overbreathe, you breathe in way too much oxygen that you need, very quickly breathing in oxygen and very quickly breathing out CO2. And the balance between too much oxygen and too little CO2 begins to take place. And that's a problem. And one study showed that 75% of the oxygen we breathe in, we literally breathe right back out unused, right? So we're way over breathing our oxygen because we breathe really shallow. When the rib cage is elastic, you're going to breathe long and slow and deep through your nose. That gives time for the CO2 levels to build up, and we become a little more tolerant to a little air hunger, a little more CO2. Because when CO2 levels rise, right, we want to breathe because we feel like we're going to suffocate. But we've become so kind of trigger happy to want to take that next breath, we're not letting the CO2 levels rise the way they should. And when CO2 levels rise through natural, long, slow nose breathing that you take, and I'm going to show you how to do a workout here in a minute, what happens is that CO2 rises, and it's the trigger to release the oxygen from your hemoglobin molecule in your blood. Think of your arteries carrying blood like a big train, and the oxygen are the passengers in that train on your hemoglobin molecule. If you overbreathe oxygen, the passengers, the oxygen, never leave the train. But if you let your CO2 levels build up and slow your breathing down and breathe through your nose, CO2 levels begin to rise, and that's the trigger for the passengers to get off the train, go into town, and buy whatever they want to buy. And then the passengers that were in the town, they come back, the CO2, back on the train, carry the oxygen, the hemoglobin through the blood back to the lungs to get more oxygen, and then go and dump all that oxygen into your tissues. My point is that many of us who overbreathe and can't breathe through the nose when you go for a walk or huff and puff, you do not have the respiratory efficiency you should have, which means you're probably not letting the CO2 levels rise enough to get the oxygen off of your blood into your brain, into your breast, into your tissues, into your muscles to give you energy and to heal yourself. And we know that there's mutagenic stem cells that take advantage of a low oxygenated tissue environment that cause real problems down the road. The body does not thrive when you don't have high oxygenated tissues. So one of the ways to do that is to breathe the way we were designed. And when you breathe long and slow and deep through your nose, you have enough CO2 to drive that oxygen from your blood into your tissues, and you make that balance between O2 and CO2 really, really happy. CO2 is a sedative, a calming molecule. O2 is a anxiety-provoking molecule. So if you have too much oxygen and not enough CO2, it's not uncommon for you to feel anxious, right? That's why in traditional Ayurveda and yoga, they would prescribe breath holds on the exhalation, where you would hold your breath on the exhale. That would accelerate CO2 levels to rise, and it would calm the stressed out nervous person down and help deal with their anxiety. And this is now backed by really good science. The diaphragm, can't do this without telling you a little bit about the diaphragm. The diaphragm, one of the biggest and most important muscles of our body, and when it contracts, it pulls air all the way down into the lower lobes of your lungs. One study with elite athletes showed that half of them did not have a diaphragm contracting fully and relaxing fully, right? The diaphragm is the major lymphatic pump. Studies with breast cancer show that women with breast cancer significantly have more congestion of the lymph in the anterior diaphragmatic lymph nodes. So making sure your diaphragm is contracting is really important for moving the lymph. It's the major lymph pump for the breast, for the chest, for the heart, for the lungs, and it also, very importantly and very precisely, the abdominal cavity. The lion's share of your lymph lines your intestinal tract. A lot of junk ends up there. Undigested proteins and fats, environmental pollutants end up in the lymph around your belly, stores belly fat. The lymph is drawn and sucked and pumped out by the diaphragm. So if you do not have a good diaphragm because your rib cage has gotten tight on you, then we need to get that to open up. And here's how we do it. Step one, I'm going to give you 3 workouts, okay, to do this. 3 simple workouts. The first workout, it's really simple. Count your steps when you go for a walk. 1, 2, 3 steps on your inhale through the nose. 1, 2, 3 steps on the exhale through the nose. Both through the nose. Keep trying to make it longer. 5 on the in and 5 on the out. 10 on the in and 10 on the out. When you get to 10 steps on the inhalation and 10 steps on the exhalation, then try to extend your exhalation. So try to go 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 on the inhalation and 15 on the exhalation. So try to extend your exhalation. Once you establish that walking, now we can begin to try to bring that nose breathing into your workout. And very simply, the second exercise is for you to just close your mouth. Breathe deeply in and deeply out through your nose. And maintain a comfortable rhythm of the breath through your nose. As you begin to run or exercise or lift weights and you have to open up your mouth or breathe more rapidly through your nose, you're going into the direction of an emergency. At that point, we're breaking our body down to build ourselves up. Now that's not a problem in short term, but here we're training the body to handle higher levels of stress from a calm place and create this kind of internal eye of the storm, this calm. And the bigger the calm you can create by breathing, creating parasympathetic dominance and brainwave coherence and alpha production in the brain, then all of a sudden you become that eye of the storm. And the bigger the calm, the more powerful the winds, the more productive you can be in your life, on the field, and exercise, but also at home doing your work. You have this inner sense of composure and calm. So as you begin to move into the winds of the storm and get beaten up by whatever's flying around out there, the stress, then you know you're in a fight or flight, mouth breathing emergency. Slow it down, reset the calm breath, and then go after it again. And that's a really simple way to do it. Basically, simply put, let the comfortable rhythm of nose breathing set the pace for how much exercise is good and how much is not so good, which means your mouth is now open. And now the third workout, this is after you've done that and you're ready to go to step 3. Step 3 is before you begin to go on your workout, just stop for a minute and breathe deeply in and deeply out with your nose. Deeply in and deeply out. And you'll notice that there's a natural pause at the top and the bottom of each of those breaths. So that's what I want you to maintain as you begin to increase your exertion in your workout, right? So you're going to notice that space between the breath. And as you begin to go a little faster and a little faster and a little faster, watch that space between the breath. As soon as that space starts to get a little faster, you're going in the direction of a mouth breath emergency. But that's way before you have to open up your mouth. The space between the breath you lose. As soon as you lose that, you bail out. Slow your pace back down. Reestablish the comfortable rhythm of your breath with the natural space between each breath. You're not holding your breath, just a natural space. And then once you get that space, then you go faster again. And what you'll notice is, before I could only go up the hill this far, but now I can go even further. You're going to see you're going to get more bang for your buck. One way to absolutely measure this, and I used to teach this class once a week in Boulder, at North Boulder Park, and the health clubs around Boulder for many, many years. And I had a whole bunch of people on a treadmill, and we did it indoors. And they put you on a treadmill, have you go 2 miles an hour. Walk for a couple of minutes, get that breath rate really long and slow. Find the space between the breath. Then, every 15 seconds, increase the treadmill by 1 degree of elevation. Another 15 seconds, another degree. Another 15 seconds, another degree. And now all of a sudden, at 4 degrees elevation, I'm asking you, is the space between the breath the same now at 4 degrees of elevation as it was when you were at 0? And oftentimes I go, no, it's not. I'm breathing a little quicker. Then I say, immediately go back to 0, reestablish that space between the breath, and now let's go back up. Again, up 1 degree every 15 seconds. And then at 4 degrees again, maybe now I ask them again, is the space between your breath the same as it was at 0? And they go, yes. Let's go to 5 degrees. Let's go to 6 degrees. And now they go to 6 degrees and they lose the space. Back down to 0 degrees elevation. At 0 degrees elevation, you reset the space between the breath again. Once that space has been set and that nice rhythm is set, nice comfortable pause between each breath, not a hold, just a natural linking between the breaths. Then you go back up again, and now you go to 8 degrees of elevation, back down to 0, to 10 degrees, back down to 0, whatever it is. And then when you get to 10, 15 degrees and the treadmill doesn't have any more elevation, next then you come back, you increase your speed by 2 miles per hour. Now you're going 4 miles per hour, and then you go through the same elevation and use the elevation to measure your performance. So you'll be like going, man, I started at 4 degrees of elevation at 2 miles an hour and my breath was lost. And after a 20-minute workout, I was doing 6 miles per hour at 8 or 10 degrees of elevation with the same original breath rate that you had at 2 miles an hour at 0 degrees. And all that is performance gain with the same exertion, the same calm brainwave, the same calm nervous system, the same parasympathetic dominance that allows your body to rebuild and not respond to this experience as a stress or a struggle. You're actually creating the eye of the storm. And if you can create that calm during vigorous exercise, then what an incredible model for taking that calm with you into your daily life. Take it off the mat, out of the gym, into your life, so you can take that calm with you. This is all written in my book, Body, Mind, and Sport. I've also written lots of articles. Just go to lifespa.com, type in nose breathing exercise or nasal breathing exercise, and you'll see all my articles and all my published studies about the difference between nose breathing and mouth breathing during exercise. So check it out there at lifespa.com. Thanks for listening. I'm Dr. John Douillard. Do you like this video? Don't forget to subscribe and share.
This recording is brought to you by LifeSpa, where ancient Ayurvedic wisdom meets modern science. Get access to free health video newsletters by Dr. John at lifespa.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.